Hello everyone, it's Annette Green here, and I am back on week 6 of 2024. Every week I come to you with a video with some sort of crafty project, and today it's all about making your own flowers. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. A couple of years ago I did a really fun video on the basics of flower shaping and making your own pretty flowers from paper. How to color them, how to do all kinds of things. I'm going to link to that video below and also to another one about how to color a pansy in particular 5 different ways. All different inks, markers, watercolor, you name it. So if you want to check those out, you can. And so today I have before you just some examples of what you can do, of course, with flower dies, which I will show you because we have some beautiful flower dies with Elizabeth Craft Designs now. Some new ones. So these are all made from paper that you see here. These are cards. Some of them are frames with dimensional flowers in there. Pizza box from Elizabeth Craft Designs, one of my favorite dies that they have. This one is a little shaker ornament that we added a flower to. This one was part of a little demo that I did with alcohol markers that I added a flower to. And then these are all cards. But today I wanted to try something completely different. Here are some of the new dies, and what I want to do is play with colored vellum today. Cardstock is beautiful, it's lovely. I just wanted to try something a little bit different and see what kind of results I get. I was inspired by Els Vandenberg, who did a Facebook Live, also saved to YouTube, so I will link that below. She did a wonderful live on how she used vellum, colored vellum that she had colored with sprays and mica stains and things like that, and then die cut the flowers and then did some more like alcohol marker layering on top of that. I'm just going to go pretty much straight up vellum with my project today. See before me, here's all these new dies from Angelica Turner with Elizabeth Craft Designs. Wildflower 1, Wildflower 2. Those two I might not use today, but we do have Wildflower 3, 4, and then the Greenery Fillers 1 I will use, and of course I need to use the Frames and Elements dies, and I'll link all these below. And don't forget, if you use my links, you get 10% off your entire order no matter what you purchase, and I get a teeny tiny commission in kind of return as a thanks. So just remember that when you go to order. Do is I really need a new banner. If I could show you the wall over there, I would show you that I still have my Very Merry banner hanging up there from Christmas here in the craft studio, and I want to replace it with a springtime banner. So as you can see right away, I've already die cut a whole bunch of pieces, and I think I'm going to just spell out spring. Maybe I won't spell anything out. Maybe it'll just be a pretty banner with flowers. So far I don't know for sure. But what I have done is I have taken that frame die that I just showed you, the Frames and Elements, and I have die cut the base part because it does have an outlined piece right here. And then it has your very, very decorative piece here that nests inside of there. So I die cut 5 out of this pretty kind of greenish yellow cardstock, and I chose that color just because my craft studio and nothing more. And then I went to some pattern papers that we have also by Angelica, the Garden Party collection, which is beautiful, beautiful paper, so beautiful. On one side it's got like a muted soft mix, but on the other sides are these beautiful bold prints. So I chose the back sides mostly for my project today, but oh my gosh, if you could see the projects that are being made with this, it's just beautiful. So that's what I'm going to do here, and that's what I've die cut here as far as these pieces go. So my thought is, because this is sort of a greenish yellow, I went with a greenish bluish yellow here. And then this other piece that I cut out here, I'm not going to use this so much as I'm going to use the center part that falls away. And I'm going to pop that right back in there. So this is going to be my base of every pennant in my banner. New to flower making, you might not know what kind of tools that you need. So you would need some sort of cushioned mat. This is pretty dense. This is from the Sizzix toolkit that comes with these 2 ball styluses and a set of tweezers. Well, you do need a ball stylus. That's pretty important when you're shaping flowers. So something with kind of a large ball is nice, but also a smaller one is going to be handy as well. And the tweezers we're not going to use today, but those are pretty handy sometimes if you go back and watch that one video that I talked about. Now, one of my favorite tools that I am going to use today, and I have it wrapped in some medical tape here just for comfort on my hands, is this golf tool. If I can find that, I will link it. I believe this one is from Dress My Craft. This has little like groovy teeth here, and you'll see where that comes into play later. I like to have, not totally necessary, you can do a lot of this on this cushion, a felt mat of some sort. You can buy like stiff felt at the craft store. I just cut a little piece. This is from an old toolkit that I had before, but usually I have a little white one. It's very stiff, but it's felt, and that's kind of handy for certain instances. The other thing you'll need if you're going to do what I'm doing today is some vellum. And this is colored vellum. I got on Amazon. I got a ton of it. I bought a couple of different packages, so these are more like there's some frosted ones in here and muted kind of pastel colors, and then over to the right of me are some really bold ones that we're not going to use, like dark blue and red and hot pink. So I'm going to be sticking with like a pale pink. In fact, I'll show you what I've done already over here. A really, really pale pink to make a flower very similar to this, and maybe some other styles of flowers from the dies over there. But the first one that I'll make is this one here. And so I'll be using the pale, pale pink colored vellum. And I've got some blue over here, so I've cut some of that. And then I've got the metallic-y, sort of sparkly, very pale gold there. Pale, pale green. Some of these are all like filler leaves. Did I mention that set? So this in particular, this one with the very roundy leaves, this one comes from the Wildflowers 3. So I mix that in. And then the others come from the Greenery Fillers 1. So you see there's that one there. I've used this one, and that's it for today. Okay, so you can see when I take my little sample over here, my base that I started, I haven't glued anything together yet, but you can kind of see very quickly how you could use all these colors and pieces on this background. Very pretty. This blue almost looks like that bluish green in the paper there. You could mix in some of this. This is like a frosty white color. You could mix that in. I just feel like that would make a beautiful wedding card or anniversary card. I'm just going to play when it comes time to putting this all together with all these different things that I've cut out. So you can see the start of it is quite pretty there. Okay, well, I have made the decision that I am going to alternate actually my background banner pieces. And so originally I thought that I would just go with this, but I'm going to use the, leftovers from what it took to do this on this one and continue to alternate as I go. Okay, so how do we make this big pretty flower? I have thrown some pearls in there that are waiting to dry so I can dump out the excess, but let's make this really quick together. And I believe I wasn't able to count properly there, but I think it's going to take 4 of the large flowers and probably about 3 of the medium and 3 of the small, but we'll see. And then I also cut out the little center pieces, and I think it just requires 2 of those out of this golden yellow vellum. So we'll see when we get there. Now what I want to do is, the first time I made that flower I first showed you, I used some archival ink, and that's been holding up just fine. But I think that I'm going to switch to my alcohol marker. I think that's going to work a little bit better. It will not smudge. I did find the archival smudged just a tiny bit as I was trying to do glue and stuff. So in my in frame, I'm using an Olo in the Dusty Rose color. That's the R5.3, just to kind of add a little bit of darker dimension from the center, kind of halfway out the petal. I don't think it matters if you do this on the front or the back of the vellum, but you do need to give it some time to dry. So I'm just going to set that aside and continue on with the rest of these. It's very, very subtle what it does there, but it is putting a little darker color in the center part. A lot of this we aren't going to see a whole lot, but it is kind of nice to do. So you could opt to skip this step if you wanted to keep it simple. I think it's going to be most important when we get down to the smaller flowers that you see a little bit more when everything's stacked together. Can you see the little bit of darker pink in there? So that was with the archival ink. So let me finish up with all these little pieces and then we'll put this together. While I'm waiting for that alcohol ink to really dry, I have pulled out the bow die from that frame set. It has this wonderful fun bow, and I've cut all the pieces. There's this other layer here, and I've cut them out of the garden party paper as well. I'm going to ink them a little bit. This is supposed to layer up like this, and I'm going to put that at the top. So I'm going to ink that up with just a little pink on the edges just to kind of match everything. Okay. And I just glued that one to the center, and that's how it looks. So we'll put that aside and get back to our flowers. Okay, I think we're ready to go. These feel wonderful. And I got my cushion, and I've got my ball stylus, and I've got my golf tool. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to do, and we may not even need this, we'll see, is I want to simply stroke the petals carefully, because it is vellum. It's a little bit delicate. I did find when I was stirring away with the ball stylus earlier, kind of aggressively, I did tear one of the petals. So just be a little careful. And this puts some nice little stroke marks through here. There's already some in the die, but this adds a little more texture. And it does start to curl up the petals pretty nicely. I don't know if it would make much difference. Let's see, if you pull toward the center. I do see some flower making designers do it that way. I don't think it's, you know, doing anything differently. So it's really up to you what you want to do. Now I'm adding a little more pressure to see if I can get that to cup a little bit. And you notice I'm not holding the flower with my finger as I'm doing this. I see a lot of people doing that are not used to flower making, and their flower doesn't curl, and they don't understand what's happening, what are they doing wrong, and you really can't hold on to it. I will do a little stir very carefully. See how it just naturally cups and I don't have to hold it? Okay, so there's one. I'm going to do all 4 of the large flowers that way. And of course all the subsequent sizes the same exact way. And when I get down to these little guys, I don't know if I'll have to use the golf tool or not. I might, but I think that's where I'll switch to a little bit smaller ball stylus. This is smaller than the one I just used. And I'll do more curling and stirring, so it really starts to close up a little bit more in there, just like in that one. Okay, so let me do that and I'll get this ready to glue together and I'll be back. Okay, I've got all my little flowers over there, and I've grabbed one of my little centers. Actually, I'm going to do 2. So there, I've already started to cup one of them, just kind of giving it a really good stir. And then using this even smaller part, kind of pushing it in the center. I've actually made a hole there, so you have to be careful. I punched right on through, but that's okay. We'll use that one for the bottom. Now this one you might want to go a little more gently. And you can see how it just sort of starts to cup and curl. And you can, you know, pinch this to make that tighter if you want. I am going to put the prills in the center, so I don't care if it's not all squeezed shut. So put that aside and we will glue these together. And I like to work on my little tiny nonstick craft sheet here. And I'm going to put aside my regular glue, and I've grabbed some super thick tacky glue. This is just Aleene's super thick. And I'm going to make a little puddle here. And a lot of people ask about my little stand. This is 3D printed, and it's from Scraps of Love in Arizona. Chris and Sam made those for us at one of our retreats. All right, so we're going to take that one, largest one, and I'm going to dip the next largest one into a little bit of that glue and just push this right down in the center. I am kind of staggering the petals. I'm not lining them up, I'm putting them in between the ones previous, of course. And here's another large one. The super thick tacky glue works really well here to grab it quickly. I can let go right away. I don't have to worry about that coming up. So I'm just going to get in there, trying not to flatten it out so they keep their shape very nicely. And you may ask, I never really explained, like, why are you even doing vellum in the first place? And that is because I wanted to get more of that kind of billowy, soft look about the flower. And I found a picture, I Googled, I think pink cosmos or double cosmos flower, something like that. And it looked very translucent, like this vellum is giving that look. It's really pretty. Whoops, that was popping around there. So just take your time. The super thick tacky glue works really well. I'm very happy with that. I'm going to grab my tweezers for this last little part just to get this in there. My fingers are feeling a little fat to put things down in there delicately. Okay. I don't know that we need all three of these little guys. I think, and honestly, I could stop there and put the yellow, and I think I will. So let's grab that one that had the hole and squeeze that down in there. And then one more. This one I think I'll squish up a little bit. Kind of pinch it and cup it a little more with my fingers. Okay. Beautiful. And then I mentioned the prills before, if you don't know what they are. These little, this is called mint, this color. This beautiful kind of bright chartreuse kind of green. And I believe you can still find them on Amazon. Now I'm using my art glitter glue to put a little puddle in there because the super thick doesn't really need to be in there for this. But you can see the pearls are different size little balls. Teeny tiny, a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to take my little Nouveau spoon here and dump some in there. I can give it a little press and set it aside to dry. Now the one that I did earlier, that has been drying for quite a while, so I would just dump anything that didn't get glued in there all the way back into the jar. Okay, there's that one. And I even like the way this one turned out even better. The second one. Really, really pretty. So I've got a whole bunch of flowers cut out over here. I'm going to do some different style flowers in that same pink and layer them up. And we're going to do some little ones, and we're going to shape a couple of these leaf things. So let me get that ready and we'll get to it. All right, so for a second style of a large flower, I'm going to use the Wildflowers 3, which looks like this. And I've already cut out a whole bunch of those out of that same pink. I've got my marker. I'm going to do the coloring of the centers. I've got a whole bunch of these pieces here ready to go. And for the centers, I think this time I have die cut these little guys out of sort of a greenish yellow vellum. So I'm going to add the color to these and get these shaped just in the same way, I think. We may not curl them quite as much. We'll see. Because it's a whole different flower. It doesn't have those little ragged edges to it. A little wavy edge. It's very pretty. So I don't know if it will require as many layers. This is how you learn. You just play and experiment and try different things. And I think on this one, I'm going to add a little of that pink around that outer edge. It's so very subtle, but I think that's going to give it kind of a cool look. So I think I'll add that to each one of these that I've already started. You could do this with a darker color, of course, if you really want that to stand out, but my craft studio is a very pale peachy pink color, so I kind of want to keep in line with that. Don't really want to have any hot pink color as I go along here. And I do love how soft and pretty this looks when it's all finished. This time for this flower, I went ahead and shaped and kind of stirred and cupped those centerpieces first, got those assembled. So it's two of the larger ones and that one smaller one sitting there. So I'm gonna let that dry. I've got my pink flower here and I want to just try not using the golf tool this time. Let's see what we can get with just the largest ball stylus here. So I currently have it face down on the mat and I'm just going to gently kind of soften and stir. Now you will notice, working with vellum, which can work in your favor, that it does want to put some, you know, it starts to crack the paper a little, the vellum paper. It wants to put some kind of white marks, let's say. So there's a little bit of denting happening there. There's a little bit of white marks here showing. That can work in your favor when you want to have some striated lines in your petals and stuff like that. So there's really no avoiding that happening. You just have to work with that, and I like it. So this is just softening everything up, and then I would come around to the front and give it a push down the center. And then we can assess, do we like it? Do we need to do more to it? It seems a little stiff yet, but let's not judge until we start to put other layers on. But I would like to see just a little more curl to the petal. So now I'm using a little more pressure and I'm pulling and stroking. Now that I've softened it, I can push a little bit harder. You wouldn't want to do this hard pressure right from the start. You have to kind of finesse it and then give that a push. Okay, and then we'll do this. Okay, so let's compare. We've got this. Now let's use the golf tool. And if we use the golf tool, we have to use it on the front. So we'll try what we just did on the other one on this one. And I'll show you, this golf tool was wonderful for this. It really makes those nice striated lines because of those little grooves, the teeth in the tool. I hope you can see that little detail there. Okay. So I'll continue with this one real quick here, just to kind of test it. And I'm already kind of feeling like I like this better. It doesn't put all those different kind of veins going in different directions. Really, this kind of controls the striated lines just in the direction that you're pulling. So I do think that I like that a little better than the first one. And so what I might do here is just like we did before, use a little bigger ball stylus to really kind of stir and cup that center so your petals start to pull in a little bit. So I'm really liking that. So I can redo this one. I'm going to be very, very careful because now it's been, you know, it's been worked over kind of a lot. Let's see if we can salvage it and not throw it away. I think we can work with that. And I think what I'll just do is put this one on the bottom. Roll that up. And I think that's going to be just fine as the bottommost piece. See how you're not going to see much of that? I think that'll be fine. So I'm going to continue with all my different layers and we'll get this together. Okay, here we go. So I just did 3 of each size for now because I don't know. I don't know for sure what it's going to take. I got my glue over here. Again with the thick, super thick. I don't know what kind of flower this is supposed to be. I don't really care. The intention is not to mimic something exactly to nature. It's just to make a pretty flower. So I think I'm just going to do, I did 3 big ones on the outside. I'm going to do 2 middle-sized ones. And maybe I only need 2 small ones as well. This is very pretty. I love how this one turned out. Let me get in there a little closer for you. Okay, and then I've already done these, like I said. Got my little centers done. Just give that a little push. And I think because I switched to the green centers on this one, I'll fish out some yellow prills. If you just couldn't find prills anywhere, I think I'll use, do I want to use these bright yellow? I have this super bright yellow one, but then I have this more orangey yellow. I think I'm going to use those. I do have this peachy. Oh, maybe I'm going to do that. I like that better. So this is called what? You know, I said mint prills earlier. Mini. The color Coral Sea. The color of the green ones is actually not mint, but ribbit. Don't know why. But if you didn't have prills, you could use little pony beads, teeny little seed beads, I mean, in the jewelry department. There's also these flower stamens that you can buy. This is by Sizzix. You can put those in there. There are things such as this. You can color them. This is from Dress My Craft. That would put just one big center in the flower. There's a lot of different things you can do. I think I'm just going to go with these pink ones. I think that's going to be very pretty. Oh yeah, that's very pretty, very nice. Okay, set that aside to dry. All right, I have decided I'm going to spell out the word craft. I was going to do spring and I realized, well, that's 6. I only want 5. And it is my craft studio, so I'm going to spell out craft. So I'm going to put each of the letters right in the middle at the top here. There's my C, and I have doubled these up. I cut them out twice. This is the stitched letters and numbers die set. And here's some of my little greenery that I've kind of shaped with the same tools. I'm going to use a little bit of my art glitter glue just down the center because everything else has been kind of shaped and cupped. And as you can see over here, maybe I've got a couple of little flowers. I have a whole bunch of extras over here that you probably can't see. But I did cut out different colors and put different centers, and that's going to be just kind of like little fillers. So I think we'll use this shiny gold leaf one coming up over here. And then I'm planning to put the big flower sort of over here to the left, so I have to kind of keep that in mind as I'm doing more filler stuff. I think I'll put this little green one. I just wanted to show you, like I did shape this white one. I just feel like it's too much. It's too bright. So I'll just save all the little white ones that I cut out. I do have these as well, which, you know, you could cut apart and pop in behind if you wanted. I just still feel like the white is a little distracting. So I don't think I'm going to use them. I do see how I want to fill in a little bit more here with the gold, so I'm going to do that. And I didn't shape these yet, but if you wanted to see very quickly, I can do another one real quick. Just use the small ball stylus, and I'm just making a line in the middle. There is a line in the die already. It scores right there. I can see it, and so I'm just following that. And that's all I really did. You can go all the way out to the end. You could pinch these a little if you wanted them to be more dimensional. But I am going to fill these in at the top. Just fill this out a little bit more up here, kind of crisscross. Okay. And then we could switch to the thick glue for the big flower. It doesn't matter too much, I don't think. But I will. You could use hot glue as well. And then I can fill in with my little guys. Now, I put prills in here, and I don't know if they're dry yet. So I'm just going to dump a little out. Yeah, but it wasn't quite dry, but I think I can still get this to work. So I think I might slip this one down here. And then I've got that gold one. I think I'll put, and that has some pearls in it too, so I'll put the green ones over here, the little extras. You could dump them out later off the banner, but I'll just do it now. So I might fill that in there. And of course I've changed my mind, and I do want to put this little bit of white under here. I just laid it on there to see, and I do like it. I think by cutting it apart, not using a whole piece, that helped. So I might do a little more over here just to kind of balance it out. I think I will. Okay. That looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, well, I just turned off the camera and went for it and finished all the pieces to my banner. I did fill this out a little bit more than how I left it, and I'm super happy. It says craft. Everything is pretty and kind of drying, so I'm going to wait, but I will eventually hot glue a nice ribbon or string to the back of all of these and hang that up. I didn't end up using this at all. I felt like it was too much. It got in the way. I even tried to put it in the back, and I wasn't crazy about that, so I am going to eliminate that. But my banner is done. I'm super happy with how delicate and translucent these flowers look. They're really pretty. It's a nice alternative to play around with some colored vellum. So I do hope you give that a try. I hope you've enjoyed it. You see all my leftovers over there. I can still play quite a bit more with some more of these. But I thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week with the next crafty video.